Alright guys, I'm sure everybody who's played Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance has had the thought of what it would be like to unlock the entire crypt in just one go. However, that would require a lot of patience to earn that many coins and not spend them. But that's exactly what we're going to do. So if all my calculations are correct, we should have enough coins to easily unlock the entire crypt. Also, in doing this, we'll find out exactly how many of each coin is in the crypt. That's a bit of information that is kind of hard to come by in the Mortal Kombat forums and FAQs that are out there. So here it is, Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance Crypt opened in one go. It's gonna take forever. The Mortal Kombat 4 Quan Chi outfit, undeniably one of the sickest outfits there are. One last sketch. Unlocking Li Mei as a character. She's never been one of my favorites. Moloch sketch. Moloch is one of the underrated bosses of Mortal Kombat. We always talk about Goro and Motaro, but I always feel like Moloch, as well as Kintaro, never get the love they deserve. So those Mortal Kombat 2 security panels are pretty cool. Those are custom-made pieces that prevent people from stealing not the money, but the PCBs from inside of Mortal Kombat. People would break into Mortal Kombat and only steal the PCB because they just wanted the game. Ah, rip-off. That means there's nothing in there. It makes you sad. So Quan Chi's tattoos is actually the incantations needed to resurrect the undead army of the Dragon King. And he didn't want to forget them, so he tattooed them to himself. A flaw I always saw in this logic is that he has tattoos like on his forehead, and some of them, you know, in places that would be difficult to read without a mirror. But he doesn't always have a mirror on him, so maybe he can conjure one. So the Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance Crypt is one of the largest crypts ever, and I actually think it's the best one as far as content is concerned. A lot of interesting stuff. They put a lot of effort into it. It's an A through Z by A through Z array, so a little back of the head math means that there's roughly a metric shit ton of coffins to unlock. I think the Quan Chi's chair is still actually in NetherRealm Studios, what eventually became of the Mortal Kombat team after Midway closed down. I'm glad they didn't go with that outfit. That's ugly. It's ugly as sin. This is a big one. Oh yeah, that's worth it. That's one of the best alternate outfits in Mortal Kombat history. She looks so cool. It's better than the original outfit, that is. So we're doing this whole thing on original hardware. I used an exploit to get as many coins as possible, but I did not hack the game or do any kind of emulation or any tool-assisted tricks. This is just an in-game exploit on the original GameCube. One of the things I loved the most when I was a kid playing this was the cinematics. It was a little inside peek into the creation process of making video games. So if you or a friend are watching this, don't know why you would be, but now that we're reaching the end of the first row, do some math in the back of your head to figure out, is that Havoc? I wonder if that's Havoc. I'm not sure. That looks like what eventually became Kotal Khan. It's got some of that Aztec influence. Anyways, do some back of the head math to try to figure out how long this video is going to be if you haven't looked at the time code. Of course, if you're watching this video on YouTube, make a comment right now about how long you think this is going to take. Boy, oh boy, Mortal Kombat 4 is underrated. People always trash talk Mortal Kombat 4. It's genuinely one of my favorites. It's one of the easiest Mortal Kombats to learn, especially for someone who's never played a fighting game. So, I don't have the same kind of affinity for Mortal Kombat Gold, But I always kind of think it gets neglected as a great way to introduce people to fighting games because it's a much simpler version of a fighting game. Plus, it's goofy and it's fun. That commercial was sick. Mortal Kombat 4 commercial. Yeah, Mortal Kombat 4 came out right at the tail end of Mortal Kombat being a global brand. See, around 1995 or so, uh, they had the game, the movie, the cartoons, TV show, comic books, lunchboxes. So these are great. These are just like stupid photoshops the Mortal Kombat dev team did to like create advertisements, I guess, for stupid fake Mortal Kombat products. There's a lot of them in here, and it's hard to take it out and have it in context. But this was before Reddit. This was before YouTube. This was before. I think this was even before Facebook. I think MySpace was a thing, and so this kind of foolishness was especially rare, and it really stood out in a video game. It's also that kind of silliness that I think about whenever I hear people say that Mortal Kombat's a serious game. I'm like, what Mortal Kombats have you been playing? I'm Mortal Kombat I grew up on has Toasty and Cooking with Scorpion. I don't know, it never took itself very seriously. One of my least favorite alternate outfits. I don't know what it was about the girls in Mortal Kombat, a Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, but I don't think they did very well on their faces. Let me just put it that way. I think a lot of the girls are presented in a way that they're supposed to be drop dead gorgeous, and the grid. The grid's very fun. I've never beaten the grid, so that's a fun game. But no, I feel like the girls were meant to be a lot prettier than they turned out. I don't know what it is. Either the artists weren't very good at making women's faces, or the engine didn't allow it. I'm not sure, but. So the grid is this like arena style shooting game for the arcade, and if I'm not mistaken, I don't know, has it ever come out on home consoles? I've only seen it in the arcades. It's crazy fun though, especially good multiplayer game. And of course, Mortal Kombat characters guest starred in it. So obviously they weren't main characters, but you could access them. So obviously this is the original Krypt, the first Krypt in the Mortal Kombat series. And whereas I think Mortal Kombat 11 so far has the most interesting Krypt as far as exploration, there's no denying in my mind that the original Krypt is the best Krypt for content. It has a really good mixture of things like this, artist renderings, and videos, animatics, commercials, jokes. It's just all around. It's a whole package. Whereas later Crypts were very to the point that they would have some artist renderings and some extra characters and outfits, and that was it. And even then, if you go into the content section of Deadly Alliance, most of the artist renderings have some sort of artist statement to read where you can get the way that they were thinking. And in a lot of the later Crypts, that's not the case. And I will say that the kind of auto-generated Krypt of Mortal Kombat 11, I really wish that it was like this one, where once you unlocked every box, you had unlocked everything in the game. Whereas I'm pretty sure you could unlock the entire Crypt for Mortal Kombat 11, then reset it, and then unlock it all again, and still not have unlocked all the stuff in the game, which sounds like a good thing, except for the fact that it leads to the game being very grindy and almost cell phone game-like in its content. Mortal Kombat 11 is just not a game that was intended to be 100% completed. I still love it, though. It's a damn good game. I just wish that they had the same Crypt that the Mortal Kombat 11 has, but had the content and thought that we have put into this one. Another great alternate outfit, just classic Kano from Mortal Kombat 1, but with all the new textures from what at the time was next-gen hardware. Sub-Zero's Dragon Medallion actually amplifies his ice abilities. At one point, Frost tries to steal it from him, but she is so new to the ice powers, or at least controlling them, that it overwhelms her and freezes her in a block of ice. And she's only broken out many years later by Taven, a son of an Edenian god. Great Dragon Egg. Yeah, throughout this entire game, they kind of hint at the legend of the Dragon King, and I always wonder if they knew that the Dragon King was going to be the boss of Mortal Kombat Deception, the game that comes after this, or if it's just something they kind of grabbed onto during their lore. But it's really cool. This is one of the, maybe the first, I'm not sure, this might be the first. It's one of the first Mortal Kombats to kind of foreshadow the next game's story. Each Mortal Kombat kind of stood on its own, but this one, all throughout it keeps talking about this Dragon King, and you know about the legend of the Dragon King, and that he had a invincible army, and And then at the very end of Reptile's story, he gets effectively like possessed or transformed into the Dragon King. And just like that, we get the next game. Which, by the way, Reptile being the Dragon King is hardly addressed. It's mentioned in his ending, and then it's mentioned in a few endings in Mortal Kombat Deception. And even then, there's stuff like in Jade's ending in Mortal Kombat Deception where you just kind of see Reptile off in the distance being dead after the Dragon King is killed. That he like reverts back to his original form. The Wuxi Academy is, I mean, top 5 coolest designs that they ever had. It's a bunch of stone sculptures of monks holding the platform over water. I'm sure at one point they were thinking about doing some sort of pit fatality. But just like so many games nearing the end of Midway's life, this game was rushed. And they just probably didn't have time to include that sort of thing. That's the reason why Quan Chi's fatality is so stupid in this game. House of Pucara has... I always thought it was really cool that like it would rain and hail, and it had a really, really sick theme song. Cyrex is another character that in this game is especially cool. Really, really cool character. And I almost always forget he's in the game until I see him, and then I'm reminded, oh yeah, this guy was really sick. Kano cereal, Kane O's. See, I love that. I love that stuff. Carlos Pesina. He's the guy who plays Raiden as well as he does, as far as I'm aware, the vast majority of the mocap for Mortal Kombat's. If you've ever played as mocap, you're actually playing as Carlos Pesina. I've always gone back and forth on whether I like Dark Raiden or traditional Raiden more. To this day, I still don't know. I feel like whichever game I'm in, I just choose the other one. So, like, if I'm playing a game that has Dark Raiden as the main Raiden, I always will choose the alternate that puts him back to traditional Raiden, and vice versa. That I know, like in Mortal Kombat 9, he had an alternate outfit that was Dark Raiden, and I would always choose it. Lord have mercy, Dragonfly is one of the sickest things there is. It's just a stage, but it flies around. I want to say it's Outworld. It flies around Outworld, and it's just this idea that you're on this platform that's flying through the sky and you're fighting each other. It's really awesome. The Dragonfly is basically just a transportation tool. A vehicle. Transportation tool. What am I, a caveman? This is the video, the ending that basically kicks off all of Deadly Alliance. Yeah, in Mortal Kombat 4, Quan Chi reveals himself to be the Great Deceiver, where he deceives Scorpion, he deceives Sub-Zero, he deceives Shinnok. I don't know if he deceives Sub-Zero. I know he's in Sub-Zero's ending. And of course, after all of that, Shang Tsung still trusts him. But doesn't trust him, but he's willing to work with him, which I always thought was silly. Boy, oh boy, the Mortal Kombat team does not like Suhao. Whenever he's brought up, they kind of speak about him in a never again mentality. Especially John Vogel. I feel like I hear him say that the most. But even in Mortal Kombat 11, they kill Suhao off. I think in Mortal Kombat X's comic book, he gets killed off. If they have a chance to kill Suhao, they will. It's interesting that there's a few fighting arenas that don't really get played in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, but you can get a sense for them during Conquest Mode, because the Conquest Mode Deadly Alliance isn't like the Deception Conquest Mode where it's a full-on game. It's Deadly Alliance's Conquest Mode is more stories, written stories to read, and then in between each story you do a tutorial for the character that you've chosen. So effectively you learn that character's story while learning the character. And during those fights they have a lot of backgrounds that they... Man, see, Li Mei, that looks like a better Li Mei. During those fights you see a lot of fighting arenas that are frankly kind of slapdash and unfinished, and I've always assumed that those were arenas that maybe were intended for greater things. Nethership is another really sick moving background. They really were taking advantage of the hardware during this time period in Mortal Kombat. Nethership, you're just on the deck of the Shang Tsung ship, and it's really cool because in Mortal Kombat Deception, you fight inside of his ship. So I just thought it was a kind of a cool connection between the two. But no doubt, Nethership is... I'm just in love with this game, apparently. It's one of the coolest backgrounds, fighting arenas, in Mortal Kombat history. They should bring that one back. Wait, they did bring that... Well, they kind of brought it back. Mortal Kombat 11, you have the ship on the Blood Sea. And it's pretty cool, too. This Krypt is so great because it's not only a way to unlock outfits, unlock more coins, and all that jazz, it's also a celebration of the entire history of Mortal Kombat leading up to this point. I feel like they knew they were doing something special with this game because every copy of Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance has a short documentary called The Making of Mortal Kombat, as well as a documentary on the history of Mortal Kombat, just included for free on the disc. And they're really interesting. If you have a copy of Deadly Alliance and you haven't watched those videos, go check them out. They're really fun. Alright guys, we just moved into the 30-minute mark of this video, so we're half an hour into opening up the crypt. So, how close are your estimates? We're just wrapping up, or I guess midway through, the D aisle, and we're going A through Z. So if you're trying to guess about how long this video is going to be, maybe this is where you make your adjustments. Johnny Cage in a suit. I always call it James Bond, Johnny Cage. Because I'm like, well, he's fighting in a suit that makes him James Bond. That's the connection. Quan Chi on a saxophone. Yeah, this was also back when this was a part of a trend in fighting games that I think is probably a good thing that disappeared, where the game would come out, but not all the characters would be unlocked. And I think it's like a good thing and it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing just because if the characters are there, I would like to play with them. But the idea was to give you an incentive to play the game more. That like it would give you a completionist goal of unlocking all the characters. I think it's a good thing because nowadays they don't do that. Characters behind DLC, and so if they want to expand the roster or give a sense of an expanding roster, they just, I don't know, freeze all of the characters behind a paywall. Obviously, I'm not a big fan of that. However, I'm a part of the problem because I'll totally download DLC characters. Lost Tomb is where Quan Chi emerges after he escapes Netherrealm, and kind of Mr. Magoo stumbles upon the Dragon King's undefeatable army. Ed Boon, the man! He's one of the co-creators of Mortal Kombat, him, John Tobias. John Tobias left somewhere around the Mortal Kombat 4 time period. Ed Boon has been sticking with it since 1992, or even before then, I suppose, because 1992 is just when the game was released. So this one is called Ed. I think it's a missed opportunity not to put Ed Boon's picture behind that crypt. I guess that coffin. We're in the crypt. That's a coffin. This Krypt is very excited. This coffin's very excited. Calm down, sir. These are coffins, not crypts. Oh, Sub-Zero mythologies. Really not a very good game, Sub-Zero mythologies. It's kind of one of those, faces only a mother can love sort of games. But I will say, if you are a diehard Mortal Kombat fan, you probably still have a soft spot for it. It's kind of like a sibling, Like, you know what the flaws of your siblings are, but you love them anyways. Unlike Mortal Kombat Special Forces, which is more like your drunk uncle. You're embarrassed he's a part of the family. Luckily, I don't have any drunk uncles. My uncles are fine, upstanding individuals. Wolf. It's not the best drawing. They went with the final concept that was similar to that, but it's not one of the best drawings. I always think it's interesting that Mortal Kombat, even from its earliest days, they were very insistent that this was not a game for kids. However, they came out with action figures and lunch boxes and a Saturday morning cartoon. The creators themselves had no control really over that. But you see early interviews with Ed Boon and John Tobias, and they're just like, this isn't a game for kids. I hope kids aren't playing this game. And a big chunk of my childhood was Mortal Kombat. And it was because I was being targeted. It wasn't like I was, some rebellious kid that just stumbled upon it. Like, they were making everything for kids. I actually I still have her. I had the Jade Mortal Kombat Trilogy action figure. I remember one of my cousins had the Scorpion one, and I was fiercely jealous. I also had a couple of these kind of G.I. Joe style ones. I don't know if I had the Trilogy ones or the original Mortal Kombat ones. Unfortunately, those are all lost with time. A much sought after Mortal Kombat collectible today. There's a few Mortal Kombat vehicles for the old G.I. Joe style collectibles, and they're really hard to come by. Bo Raicho, I am like furious about how many people don't like him, and I don't get it. I get that he's like fart jokes and he's drunk and stuff, but he's also like the Pai Mei of the Mortal Kombat world. He's a guy who trained everybody. He's a badass. He's Liu Kang's teacher. He taught Katana. He taught Shujinko. People shit on Shujinko too, and I like him. I always thought Bo Raicho was a really, really cool character. And I mean, like, dude, vomit's gross, and in a game in which gross out is kind of the name of its, is its MO. I think having a throw up move is just disgusting, and that makes it good. I don't know. I've always liked Bo Raicho. Plus, his name's a pun. It's a play off of the Spanish word for drunk. They actually do that a lot in Mortal Kombat, where they will play with things that vaguely sound Asian. In Mortal Kombat 4, they'll just say English words, but really fast. So they'll say, like, yo, check this out, and they'll say it in a way that sounds vaguely Asian. Here's a detail in all my years of playing this game I've never noticed. The frame around the coins is asymmetrical. Now, I didn't know there was Mortal Kombat comic books until I think this game came out. To be frank, they aren't that great. The art's always cool, and John Tobias' art in particular is awesome. But they're basic comic books. I've always wished I was more into comic books than I am. A couple comic book characters I like. I like Spawn. I like Power Girl. I like the Crow. Ooh, the Devil's Number 666. What's in this one? Ooh, the most evil box there is. Ha! It's nothing. It says Unleash Hell. Yeah, so originally this game, at least the thought was that people would just pick it up and they'd kind of work their way through the crypt organically, not necessarily running straight to the internet to exclusively. This one says FU, just so you know. It says FU. As in, fuck you. See? FU. Anyway, so as I was saying, the intent obviously was for you to kind of organically go through this and this be like opening up, you know, packets of cards and seeing what you got on each packet, you know. But of course people just went to the internet anyways. So like paying a small amount for one of these coffins and then would have a hint as to something greater in another coffin really probably would be a pretty cool thing. Unfortunately, when the game did come out, most people who were my age at the time, we were technologically literate. So we all just went online and looked up what we needed. You know, maybe there was like a 1 week period where the information wasn't out there, but very shortly after it came out, everything was mapped out. So if I wanted Scorpion's new outfit, I would just go straight to that particular coffin. Which is why in Mortal Kombat 11 they randomized everything that was inside the crypt. My frustration with the crypt is really not so much that it's randomized, but more that once you've unlocked the entire crypt, you've only unlocked a very small fraction of the game's content. I don't know why that bothers me, but I just feel like they set a precedent with these Mortal Kombat that the crypt represented how much of the game you unlocked. Maybe that's what bothers me. Yeah, I thought it's really cool how in the Crypt they had these videos that were animatics and what have you, kind of giving you an inside look onto the creative process of Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. It obviously was one of the fake advertisements for a Dramen fly swatter. I actually have the Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 arcade machine, which is just the Mortal Kombat 3 machine with a different board and different marquee. Not even a different board, it's just a different chipset, if I'm not mistaken. Now that's cool. I'd like to get my hands on one of those. I do not have a Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance coin, and now I've decided that I must have one. I'll probably forget about it by the end of this video. Yeah, this is one of those games that just struck me at the exact right age. I remember when I got my first job, I worked at McAllister's Deli, and with my first paycheck, I went out and I bought a GameCube and this game. And I don't think I bought another game for like a year and a half or so. Because this was all I needed. I was very happy. I remember bragging to people about it. Like, hey guys, guess what I'm still playing? It'd be like 6 months later or 8 months later. I'd come into school and I'd say, hey, never guess what I did today. Or did yesterday. I played Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance because it's the only game that I need. Obviously now I have a embarrassing amount of video games. But I definitely milked this game for all it was worth. I mean, here I am, 48 minutes into unlocking the Crypt in this weird fashion. This is not accounting for the hours of grinding to get this amount of coins. This is just the hours that is the ending portion of it that I'm taking you a part of. Taking you a part of. Yeah, sure. I'll pretend that's English. Yeah, it's actually like almost 5 o'clock in the morning. I woke up early. I'm not still up. I woke up really early and said, well, might as well get this started. Moving on to G's. I can tell you already, this video is going to be much longer than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, I believe that's the John Tobias art from the early comic. I've always been a big fan of comic book style art. Illustration is what I actually went to college for, and John Tobias played a big role in that. It's interesting because I didn't really know it. It's not like I knew I was a fan of John Tobias when I was a kid, but even when I was 5 years old, I was taking his pictures that were on trading cards for Mortal Kombat, and I was copying them. No, they weren't trading cards. I think they came out with trading cards, but in particular, I had a strategy guide of some sort, a Mortal Kombat 2 strategy guide that I believe had his art in it. The Mortal Kombat team loves to encourage rumors. There's a rumor that if you hung out in the Deadly Alliance crypt long enough, you'd be able to see other Mortal Kombat warriors sneaking around the crypt. Now, I can all but confirm that that's not true because I have been in the crypt for probably hundreds of hours in my life and I've never seen it. But you see it all the time in Mortal Kombat Deception's crypt, so that rumor they made true. And they do that a lot. Ermac was a result of a rumor coming true. Um, Scarlet was a result of a rumor coming true. Animalities, I believe, were a result of a rumor. Now, the memory associated with GT isn't anything about Mortal Kombat. One of the first games they ever got for the Nintendo 64 was a racing game called GT 64, and it was terrible. I recall that the game the game didn't run very fast, and so they just blurred the textures on the background so that when you drove it looked like you were going fast, but if you ever stopped your car the textures were still blurred. GT64 sucks. That's my story. It's kind of fun that they have the comic art and they let you know which number you have, because comic book collectors are just that, they're collectors, and so they kind of create a collecting aspect to unlocking the comic art in this game. I was like, oh cool, I got 21 of 40. Oh, I'm sorry, a 41. Alright guys, I'm going to cut the video here, and then I'll be right back just to make editing easier for me and processing the videos easier for my computer. But I'll be just turning the camera off and turn it right back on. Alright guys, we are back. Just keep on moving down. I wanted to give an introduction to what we're doing, but I realized in the video world, you've been watching this for an hour. You know exactly what we're doing. Shang Tsung's Soulnado is one of the coolest ideas ever. I want to say its first introduction was in Mortal Kombat 3, and it's just the coolest that Shang Tsung makes a tornado of souls. So as everyone dies, they all get sucked into the tornado so that he can steal the souls whenever he needs power, because human souls is where Shang Tsung derives his strength. So ever he's feeling a little weak, he just reaches out and grabs the little soul. Here's a fun fact. The Mortal Kombat logo, the original design for the Mortal Kombat logo, the dragon was facing the other way. Woo! You guys have fun with that fact? That was crazy. Firewall concept. I think they ended up using the firewall in Mortal Kombat 4. There's a place that looks just like that concept art. There it is, the Mortal Kombat Gold team. Mortal Kombat Gold was basically Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 for Mortal Kombat 4. Unlike that, it didn't really improve the game. I don't think any of the additional characters really played all that well. I actually have that Mortal Kombat pinball, and it is so jank. It's funny, there's a whole series of little pinball machines like that. They're the exact same pinball machine, just with different stickers. So there's a Mario one, there's a Mortal Kombat one, and I don't know the other ones, because the Mario one and the Mortal Kombat one are the two that I have. But legit, it doesn't even make any real sounds. That it makes this horrible, high-pitched, electronic dinging noise when you hit one of the bumpers. But that's it. It doesn't make any cool Mortal Kombat sounds. At least mine doesn't. Herman Sanchez. It's so funny because I feel like I know a lot of these people, but I've not really met any of them. I met John Vogel and Tony Gotsky, and I met quite a few of the actors who played the Mortal Kombat characters in the early video games. John Vogel was probably the one I was most starstruck for, because he was one of the leads in the Mortal Kombat story once John Tobias left. And whereas I love John Tobias' story, my favorite time period in Mortal Kombat is this one, Deadly Alliance and Deception. And so John Vogel's work with his team on the story is basically what made me fall in love with the Mortal Kombat franchise. So, I mean, it's hard to say. I've been a fan since I was a little kid. I mean, I dressed up as Raiden for Halloween when I was 6. So, no doubt John Tobias' work played a big role on me too. I don't know why I like House of Picaro so much. Is that how you guys say that word, Picaro? Let me know. That's how you YouTube, right? You ask people questions so that they comment. That's the trick. And I'm supposed to threaten you with subscriptions. If you don't subscribe to this video, something horrible will happen to you. Like, you go to open up the Crypt thinking you have all of the money you need, but you'll be 1 coin short. Hope that's not foreshadowing. That's the drawing, man. That's the exact drawing that I was referring to earlier, where I said that I was drawing. I keep forgetting his name. John Tobias's work. I shouldn't forget his name. He's the man. I wish John Tobias still worked on Mortal Kombat. Unfortunately, he's the creative type, and he wants to work on. He's not interested in working on only one property for the rest of his life. I can understand that. But I liked his work a lot. Yeah, now we're getting into that vintage art, man. Look at that. It's incredible. I like how I say look at that as though you have any other choice. I literally have the camera pointed at the screen. Let the tournament begin. Poor Sonya. It's funny because as a character, she's anything but a damsel in distress. But somehow she's a damsel in distress a few times in the story. For example, this one says he. Yeah. What's behind he? Huh. Not special at all. No, it's sick art. No doubt John Tobias' work is on point. That is yet to be seen. So anytime you see an artist draw a hand in that fashion, what they're really doing is they're showing off. You'll see that an amateur artist will oftentimes either suck at drawing hands or suck so bad at drawing hands that they hide the hands, that they make people stand with their arms crossed, their hands behind their back. And so, like that iconic hand gesture of Spider-Man, that iconic hand gesture of Spider-Man is a great example of an artist just flexing, because not only can I draw hands, I'm going to put the hand right in front of your face, and I'm going to make you look at the hand. Look at it. And I'm going to make it in a cool position, and it's going to be his signature move. That he's going to do this sick movement with his hand. It's going to be right in front of the camera. And that's just an artist flexing, because like I said, hands are hard. There's no doubt about it. But if you can't draw hands, you can't draw. It's that simple. Get good at hands. You can't do hands and noses. Everybody can draw eyes. I've always wanted this Rock'em Sock'em robot thing. It's so cool. Everybody can draw eyes. Almost nobody can draw hands and noses. Or if you can draw eyes, can you draw two eyes? That's the other one. You'll see all the time people will draw just a single eye. Which I do too. I mean, everybody does. It's fun to draw. Oh, I don't know if that's the best coffee mug. Because Sub-Zero keeps things cold. Mortal Kombat's great. This is what I'm talking about. Mortal Kombat's serious, right, guys? Duties, they're serious. Mortal Kombat 1 is the only Mortal Kombat that ever took itself seriously. All the other Mortal Kombats were goofy. Mortal Kombat, and even Mortal Kombat 1 had Johnny Cage's ending, which is kind of silly. Mortal Kombat 2 introduced Toasty. Mortal Kombat 3 had... Oh, and Mortal Kombat 2 had babalities and friendships. Mortal Kombat 3 had animalities, and the consoles had the brutalities, which were kind of hilarious in themselves. Mortal Kombat 4 is one of the most wackadoo games you'll ever play. And then you have this game. Whenever somebody says Mortal Kombat's, I don't know, a serious game, the thing is, it's what I'm referring to is people will trash on characters like Boraicho, saying that Mortal Kombat's serious and they shouldn't put joke characters in there. It's like, I don't think you guys understand that the whole game's kind of funny. The dev team for Mortal Kombat is goofy. They're playful people, especially the early ones. That's sick. It's interesting. A lot of times it's called Quan Chi's amulet, but I mean it was originally Shinnok's. So nobody's giving Shinnok any respect. It's cool and up close of the priest. Yeah, when I first got this game, I think I only played through about half of the Conquest mode, because the night I got it, I had one of my friends sleep over, and I fell asleep, and when I woke up, he was still up playing through Conquest mode, which I wasn't mad about, because Conquest mode is kind of like work in this game. The story's super cool, but it's a little bit of a grind. Fat. I remember Fat with a PH. Those were darker times. IP, as an Ip Man, the great martial artist. That's not Ip Man. That's an ugly Halloween costume. Yeah, I dressed as Raiden. I actually wore a store-bought costume, but it didn't come with a mask like that. It was made of that thin Halloween costume material that you know exactly what I'm talking about if you ever bought a Halloween costume. Fortress exterior sketches. That's one of the craziest things about these backgrounds or the fighting arenas in Mortal Kombat, is they are detailed so much further back than you might think. There's a phenomenal YouTube channel called Boundary Break, where they take kind of like a magic camera and explore outside the boundaries of video games. And they did one on Mortal Kombat, on Mortal Kombat 9. And it was fascinating because the arenas were way bigger than I thought they were. I thought that there was a lot of perspective trickery going on, but not so much. They would model these huge arenas, and you are just taking part in your fights is just on a very small portion of it. Glad they didn't go with that character concept. Lame. Huh. That is interesting. So, Dairu's not in this game, but he is in the next game. And it's interesting that they were planning him this early. I think anybody, if they looked at Dairu in Mortal Kombat Deception, they'd probably agree that he kind of looks like maybe an NPC. He doesn't necessarily look like a fully fleshed out character. But apparently they were working on him for a while. I always would play with Dairu just because he does Wing Chun. That's one of the martial arts that I know. So that's all I needed. I was like, hey, I know Wing Chun and he knows Wing Chun. We must be best friends. That's also awesome. I don't wear watches, so I have no need for that. But I still want it for some reason. Maybe Mortal Kombat is why. Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance is why I started collecting. They showed me all this cool stuff. Yeah, that's the ending, I think it is, where Tanya betrays Liu Kang. I would be all like, spoiler warning, but I won't, because that game came out in 1997. It's your fault if you don't know the ending by now. Those jerks. Oh yeah, Mortal Kombat 4. Just me, Shinzi. My good dog. She's trying to warn us. There's a bad guy about. It's just me. Up abnormally early. I'm sure I'm going to pass out at 12. Yeah, Kano's reminder. In this game, Kano wears a chunk of blonde hair around his neck on a necklace. It actually is because Sonya threw him off of a building, and before he fell, he ripped out a chunk of her hair, and he holds on to it as a reminder, I guess, to kill her. That's John Vogel. He's a legend. He's awesome. I got a chance to meet him at Shang Tsung's Fight Night 2. He was just a really awesome guy, and he gave me way more of his time than I really was expecting. I was expecting just to go up and kind of be like, hey, I love the Mortal Kombat story and I know you played a role in it. Thank you so much. But he actually hung out for probably about a half an hour chatting with me about the story and about different aspects of the game. It meant a lot. It's really cool. These are some of Johnny Cage's movies. The Gist of My Fist, Cage Match. Ninja Mime was not out yet. Ninja Mime's much later. I guess you could say that Ninja Mime was out, because Ninja Mime's a part of the rebooted timeline, but it reboots after Ninja Mime was made. So I guess Ninja Mime is out. I don't know. This was way back in the day when Mortal Kombat only had one timeline. Yeah. Now it has infinite timelines, as many as you want. So Scorpion has always been my number one in the Mortal Kombat franchise, but Raiden has always been my number two, except for in this game. Raiden doesn't have the Superman move, and he moves fairly slow. I don't know. It's not my favorite Raiden. I definitely main Scorpion. There's no doubt about that. And because of my love of Mortal Kombat Deception, I just happen to be able to play a lot of the characters in this game. For example, I can play Kung Lao because he uses the Mantis style, which Sujinko uses in Deception, and I play a lot of Deception and I play a lot of Sujinko, so I can do play with Kung Lao because it's the same style. I do not have one of those yet. Yet being the most important word. Shang Tsung. Excuse me. There's a small part of me that was like trying to hold back the sneeze. It was like, oh, don't sneeze during the video. I'm thinking, why? Why does it matter? Are you going to be offended by my sneeze? And if you are offended by my sneeze, what kind of weird viewer are you? That you're almost an hour and a half into this video, and then you're like, you know what really is going to stop me? It's that sneeze. I mean, I can't tell you why, but I don't like Suhao either. Earlier, I was discussing about the fact that the developers seem to really regret putting Suhao in the game. I suppose it's just because he's kind of a... I can't say he's a do-nothing character in the story. He plays a role in destroying the Special Forces base. But as far as a character goes, he's not the best character concept as far as design. He's basically like if you just took the Kano idea and like shifted the eye to his chest. Yeah, the Swamplands is a background that isn't actually in this game. However, it does appear in the Game Boy Advanced version of this game. Fun fact. Woo! It won't let me turn it with the D-pad. Oh gosh. There they are, programmers. Yeah, the Kuatan Palace, or Kuatan Palace, they are. It's actually kind of like a memorial site for Goro, and they have all of the former Shokan champions sculpted along the outsides. But the fact is, Goro's not dead. They just don't know it. The body that they found was pretty mangled, and they just assumed it was Goro for one reason or another. But Goro is actually alive and in hiding. I wish the Elder God Hall looked that cool. They should redo that. That should be one that comes out in a later Mortal Kombat. But they don't do 3D Mortal Kombats anymore, so I don't know if it will hold up. But Mortal Kombat 4 was just kind of 3D, so maybe they could do it. These are things I do. Sitting down for hours, unlocking the crypt all at once. But being honest, I had no idea it would take this long. But for those of you who know, as far as I'm aware, I'm the only person who has ever performed the Punch Johnny Cage glitch to its entirety. Twice. So, one of the times was on film. The Punch Johnny Cage glitch for Mortal Kombat Deception takes about 9 hours. So I'm good. And seeing how we are just a little under an hour and a half into this, and we're already to the K's, it's not going to take 9 hours. Then something happens, and it takes 9 hours. And then I'm sad. I'm totally going to have to check out the the watch time on this video and see how everybody just drops off after 10 minutes. They realize that this is not a quick process. It's not me adjusting my sitting position. I'm like a little kid playing this now, like on my belly, flopping my feet back and forth in the air. I did have that hat. That's actually an embroidered hat, so that would actually stay. That's pretty cool. I did have the Mortal Kombat Live Tour cap when I was a kid. And when I would play catch, I wouldn't use a catcher's mitt. I would just use my hat. Catch is the closest thing to sports I ever played. Of course, that and a lifetime of martial arts, but I've never really considered martial arts a sport because the martial arts I study are self-defense based, which means that they don't have any rules or scoring or anything like that. Still fighting, you still spar a lot. You just don't really keep track of who's winning. Pocket codes. Alright, this one's only 7 coins. Oh my god. Ooh. I was worried I didn't have enough. You know, for the build-up, I feel like they should have put even more coins. It'd be cool if that was like 1,000 coins for the 7. The crazy thing is right now, I have a whole nother file that I'm working on to do 100% completion. So I'm going to be doing this again. The reason why this isn't my 100% completion file is because the file that I'm doing the 100% completion on, I already had started. So I've done 100% completion on Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance organically when I was in my teens. I just played it so much that I accidentally unlocked everything. But this was definitely the first time I ever just like sit down and, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play through the entire game and unlock everything as quick as possible. So, for a little bit of historical context, this video is actually being shot during the 2020 COVID-19 lockdown, in which the entire world has gotten sick. And so all of us have a lot of extra time on our hands. So I've been taking that time to do 100% completion on a lot of my favorite games. I did 100% completion on Metroid 1, 2, Super Metroid, and Zero Mission. And I thought, I'd go ahead and I'd kick out a 100% completion. Oh, I did is it? Yeah, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for Deadly Alliance. I've already done 100% completion on Mortal Kombat Deception, but I did go through my current Deception file and do kind of a cleanup on the Conquest mode, doing all the meaningless little side missions. That was fun. I have no idea how much fun it'd be for somebody else. I have so much nostalgia for this game that I can just like hang out here forever, and it just feels correct to me. When I was a little kid, I would, well, not little kid, when I was like a young teenager, I would fall asleep just here in the crypt. I'd play so much. You jerk. So excited about Lee May. She is not one of my favorites. Of course, because I was a 15-year-old boy when this game was out, we always read that as Lamey. As Lamey, yeah. We thought we were so clever. I mean, you know, Beavis and Butthead laughs all the way. Her name's Lamey, dude. It's Lamey. It's chosen ignorance, ignoring of what we're hearing. I've never understood how people mispronounce the name of characters in games in which the game says the character's name. So, for example, I've known people say Noob Saibot, or they say Mario. It's like, but the game says those characters' names. When you select Noob Saibot, it says Noob Saibot. Or the startup of Mario 64, he says, "It's a me, Mario." He says his name. He doesn't say Mario. Mario. Of course, this is me at 5:40 in the morning, an hour and a half into unlocking the crypt, bitching about how people I don't know pronounce names of video game characters. So, you know, my priorities are right where they need to be, alright? But in my defense, there's nothing else to do right now. My business is doing well. My house is clean. My family's happy. I'll open up some crypts. Coffins. Mortal Kombat Vengeance. Glad they didn't go with that name or that art. God, that's 90s. Ouch. Yeah, if you've gone back and rewatched The Matrix, that is the most 90s movie that has ever been movied. Or it is like that late 90s, early 2000s. It's just crazy. It's crazy how everything that is that time period is in that one movie. Whew. I'm glad those are concepts. But I'm glad that they're in here too, that you can look at them. LS for Lost Souls. So it definitely looks like they're even way back during this time period, they were messing around and experimenting with the Mortal Kombat logo. I'd be interested to know, for people who are still here, you are clearly devoted. Um, which Mortal Kombat logo was your favorite out of all of them? Top of my head, I like the original Mortal Kombat logo on the box for Mortal Kombat 1. And the Deadly Alliance logo is sick. And the Mortal Kombat Deception logo is amazing. I also have a soft spot for the Mortal Kombat movie logo, where it's kind of made out of stone. I think the Mortal Kombat Annihilation logo is terrible. And I'm not the biggest fan of the newer logo that they use for Mortal Kombat X and Mortal Kombat 11. They changed the brow of the dragon, and because I'm a nerd, that stands out to me. Chrome bling. You know, that might be racist. Moving on. I don't know. I'm not an authority on that subject. About the whitest male you'll come across. I survive entirely off of macaroni and cheese and mayonnaise. Yeah. When I was younger, I hated that they were changing Reptile into this lizard person. And now that I've been playing these games for years, I love that they slowly changed him into a lizard person. I think it's ridiculous, and it's kind of cool too. It also sets him apart, because the biggest complaint you hear about Mortal Kombat from non-Mortal Kombat players is, oh, the ninjas are basically the same character, which is just not true, but they are palette swaps of each other. But they definitely play dramatically different. It's not like Ken and Ryu, who effectively play the same but are different sprites. But I do think it's cool that as the franchise went on, they definitely put in the effort to differentiate the characters from each other. Like Scorpion looks nothing like Sub-Zero in this game, and same thing with Reptile. This game actually did a lot to kind of break the norm if you look at it. For example, like, Raiden, I mentioned, doesn't have his flying thing, but Kung Lao, his normal outfit, the hat is worn on his back as opposed to his head. I just feel like they did a lot to try to subvert expectations or take Mortal Kombat in a direction that it had not gone yet. Obviously, the biggest thing is that they changed the entire fighting engine. That's one of my favorite parts about being a Mortal Kombat fan, is that if So the only Street Fighter, for example, that I ever got even remotely good at was Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. I loved it, and I still love it. It's a great game. But I can take the skills that I developed from Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, and I can play Street Fighter 2 fairly decently, as well as I can play Street Fighter 4 fairly decently, because the game engine is effectively a tweak of the engine before it. So if you can play Street Fighter 2, you can transition to Street Fighter 3 fairly reliably, which is cool. But over time, at least for me, it kind of feels like you're kind of playing the same game over and over and over again. Whereas the really neat thing about the Mortal Kombat series is every 3 or 4 games, they change the fighting engine. And so you effectively get a completely new game just with the same cast of characters. So I can keep up on Scorpion's history and Raiden's history, but I have a whole new engine to play with. And this is actually especially interesting for somebody who likes to play on the couch with people, like original co-op or original competition, head-to-head fighting, because with something like Mortal Kombat 2 to Mortal Kombat 3, I don't know, I would have an advantage when the game came out because it was similar enough to the old game that I could pick it up and basically start winning. But the transition from Mortal Kombat 4 to Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, well, this was a completely new fighting engine, completely foreign to me. So it kind of reset for everybody who was the top dog. And I like that. It gives everybody kind of a chance to, get good at the game. Whereas I feel like, I don't know, whenever a new Street Fighter comes out, the people who were the best at the old one are, probably going to be the best at that one too, because the fighting engine is the same. Which also could be an argument as a good thing. But for me, I like the fact that it changes up. And right now, at least as of the making of this video, we've had Mortal Kombat 9, Mortal Kombat X, and Mortal Kombat 11. And they are all 3 kind of tweaks of the same engine. Mortal Kombat 9 engine, a lot of people don't like to admit it, is actually a tweak of the Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe engine. But they don't like to admit that because they don't like that game. But for sure it is, 100%. Play MK versus DC Universe and you'll see it plays very similar to MK9. Even though one's 3D and one's 2D. That's cool! I've not seen that Wuxi Academy sketch. Or I must have, because at one point I 100%ed this game, but that was... I don't even want to admit how long ago that was. Half my life ago. It was half my life ago. Jesus. That's wild. Yeah, but that's always been one of the cool things about being a Mortal Kombat fan, is that it's not like I've literally been playing the exact same game my whole life. Every, 3 or 4 games, which like 2, 4, 6, every like 5 to 6 years, they rewrite the engine. And so it gives you a new chance to play the game from a different perspective. Oh yeah. I don't know if I'm getting excited about coins. So I'm like conditioned to get hype about getting coins in this game because that's would help you unlock more stuff. But I know I have enough coins to unlock the whole Crypt. The Mortal Kombat 4 Road Tour. I have kicked myself so much for not taking part in that, as well as they did a Mortal Kombat 9 Road Tour that I also could have taken part in. And I didn't take part in that. So if they ever do another Mortal Kombat Road Tour, which they won't, because the internet exists now. Look at that! Is that Ed Boon? That's cool. So the Mortal Kombat 4 Road Tour is kind of what it sounds like, that prior to the game being officially released, they did a giant promotional thing where they took the machines and drove them all around the United States to debut the game in arcades. And it was a great advertisement thing, because basically they'd go to an arcade, debut the game there, this first time it's available to play, for example, like in St. Louis, and then the arcade operator would see how hundreds of people flocked to his arcade to to play this game. And so as they were leaving, they would walk up to the arcade operator and say, "So how many units do you want to buy?" And of course, after seeing all those people flocking to the game, they're like, give me, 2 or 3 of them. I want this machine in my arcade, because that just brought so many people in. And so it served as a great way to both advertise to the people that this new game, let people play the new version of Mortal Kombat, but also served as a phenomenal way to sell to the arcade operators. That alternate outfit is sick, by the way. So much of the art in this game. This might be my favorite Mortal Kombat as far as the art is concerned. No doubt Deception's my favorite one to play, but Mortal Kombat Deception, its art is kind of hit or miss. So you have character designs like Scorpion and Sub-Zero, which I think are really sick and really on point, and then you have like Dairyu and Darius that I'm kind of like, they're or Cobra. It's a great example of just like what doesn't look like they're trying very hard on those outfits. Whereas pretty much everybody but Su Hao in this game is phenomenal looking. And all the backgrounds are a bit more high contrast, and I really dig that. I'm a big sucker for high contrast. For those of you who don't know, high contrast just basically means kind of what it sounds like, where the darks are really dark and the lights are really light, and that there is not a lot of gray area between them. MK basketball concept. Well, why didn't they do that? That's interesting. That's also kind of like showing that mindset. So one of the reasons why I love Deception so much is that Deception had a ton of content on top of the fighting engine. You had the fighting engine, but you also had the conquest mode, which was kind of like a pseudo action RPG, if you will, at least an adventure game of some sort. Then they had Puzzle Combat, which was like Puzzle Fighter, basically a Tetris style sort of game, a block stacking kind of game. And then they had Mortal Kombat, or Chess Combat, and that was effectively a game of chess played with Mortal Kombat characters fighting a round of the fighting game to decide who takes the square. So there's a lot of content that wasn't just the fighting game in Mortal Kombat Deception, and that basketball combat concept sketch shows you that they were thinking about that kind of stuff during this game as well. This game has a lot of content to enjoy, but most of it's very passive. Like I said, it has the making of Mortal Kombat, the history of Mortal Kombat videos. They have the music video, Immortal by Adema, and then they have a ton of animatics to watch and concept videos and commercials and old endings. They have the bloopers from various Mortal Kombats. I think that's in this one that they have the bloopers, the blooper reel. MV, that's me, Michael V. Let's see what's in my chest. My feelings! Ow! Can't do that to me. Oh, good. I unlocked Su Hao. I was worried about that. I was like, ooh, maybe I won't get a chance to unlock Su Hao today. Yeah, so I'll be making another video, not of unlocking the entire Crypt, but when I do 100% completion on Deadly Alliance, I'll be making another video similar to what I did for Mortal Kombat Deception, where I kind of will make a short video, kind of, I guess, commemorating the event and kind of reflecting on what the experience was like. I had one of my YouTube followers say that I should do a retrospective on Mortal Kombat Deception, like I did for Deadly Alliance. I have a retrospective on Deadly Alliance where I really dive deep into the game and kind of talk about it very passionately. And I may do that someday, but Deception in particular is so close to my heart that it almost feels like I can't do it justice. So I'm like nervous or hesitant to do it because I feel like I'll never truly express exactly how good that game is. I know nothing about this man, but there he is. That's him. NX. That's the code name for Nintendo Switch. So I think that was it. Wasn't it? Wasn't it NX? I can't remember. Damnation Charcoal. Burns like hell. See? I love that. And it's interesting because, like, that kind of content, I think today would be kind of weird. But back then, because Reddit wasn't a thing and Facebook really wasn't a thing, and I don't know, that kind of content wasn't. I mean, even to get stupid pictures like that, you usually have to download them, at least to what my memory was. You see, Kenchi's blind. So yeah, it's his glass eyes. Oh my gosh. That was the sound of me thinking about how long this actually is going to take. Arctic hold. Yeah, that's how you keep your hair nice when you're frost. These are my epic pauses when I'm thinking. Good old Nick Shin. I know nothing about him. NP for Nut Punch? Maybe? No, that's not a Nut Punch. I remember the first time I ever heard about Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, I remember like some people remember, like, I don't know, big moments in their life, like, I don't know, when they when they got proposed to or something. I was at my cousin's house, and we were they had like an above ground swimming pool. There was in ground. But anyways, we were in their swimming pool, and we're talking about Mortal Kombat, and I'm discussing about, like, well, I think I like Mortal Kombat 2 more than Mortal Kombat 4. I was like young. They're like, they're coming out with a 5th one, and that's all it took to get me impossibly hype. I remember like pausing and being like, what? Because I think that was the first time I ever acknowledged that a game was coming out, or that I knew a game was coming out prior to it coming out. Up until that point, it was just like games happened, that like either you'd see it in a store, or far more realistically, just somehow or another, it ended up in your console. Because, like, for example, I know for a fact my mother bought me an N64 and 007 GoldenEye and Ocarina of Time. And she told me that she chose those games because some young man at Walmart told her that they were good. And thank you, whoever that is, because they were good. But I don't remember getting a Nintendo 64. I don't remember the first time I booted up either of those games. As far as I'm aware, 007 GoldenEye and Ocarina of Time have just always been in my life. Mortal Kombat Lunchbox. I always wanted one of those. Why? I don't know. They're cheap and ugly. But that's just the nature of somebody who collects. You know the difference between a collector and a hoarder? Collectors dust. That's it. They dust their stuff. That's it. That's the only difference. A hoarder doesn't clean their stuff. Hachiman sketch. Huh. And so obviously you guys are seeing this all being done really, really quickly. More quickly, almost 2 hours in quickly. But the actual pictures and stuff that you're seeing, and some of these are like videos and stuff. All of that is a part of. It gets put into this other section of the game called content with a K, and it's really cool because not only can you see the pictures in higher quality than you normally could, at least at the time period, but most of them would have like some sort of like artist statement describing what they were thinking while designing it. I kind of skipped past that one pretty quick. That was a character render of Jax. I'm sure you saw it. I'm sore sitting here. So I'm sure everyone watching this video, especially if you're this long in, you probably know that I'm a martial artist. And whereas I've been staying active and still teaching martial arts during this COVID-19 thing, I've just been teaching it via like web calls. I sound old. Zoom. I'm using the Zoom app just like everybody else is. The amount of inactivity associated with shelter in place makes me really sore. I will tell you this, that when people tell you that, with the exception of like damage to their knees, like they jumped out of airplanes or something, if someone tells you that they can't do something because their knees are bad, it's actually the other way around. Their knees are bad because they don't do things. Okay, so I'm going to do another break here. So we're almost 2 hours in, and we're at the O's, so we're making good time. I don't even know if it's good time. We aren't making good time. It's taking forever, but it's fun. I'm enjoying myself. But yeah, so I'm going to make a break here, and then we'll come right back. Let's do it. We're back. So let's keep this going. Let's see. So right now it's like 6:06 in the morning. I forget what time we started. Probably could do math. We're on hour 2. Movie storyboard. That's nice art. It's incredible how talented these people are. of. Now this one says OG, so it's, you know, the original gamer. Oh, I'm hilarious. See, it's Raiden. It's the OG. Original God. Ah. This one's surprising. Oh. So many coins. See, like, I look at the gold coins and I feel like it's getting low because it only has 17,000. And it's freaking me out, man. But the truth is, it's more coins than I feel like I've ever had at just one point. Because I never saved up like this. I never played and saved up my coins. The second I had enough coins to buy something, I'd go out and I'd buy something. It's almost like real life. No, I'm kidding. Me and my wife are remarkably disciplined when it comes to our money, so you should be too. Stay out of debt. Make sure you have an emergency fund that consists of 3 to 5 months of your total expenses or pay, so that you could lose your job, or you could be in a COVID-19 crisis, and you'll be good to go. That's how you meditate, yeah. I'm going to be posting this video in the Mortal Kombat Online forums for Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. And I'm pretty sure I'll be the first person to post them there in years. See, obviously most people aren't still playing these games. This video is being made in 2020, like I said. And this game came out in, what was that, 2002? He looks kind of bummed out. And so most people are not still playing this game, which is fine. Weirdos. I don't know why they aren't. When I was 15, I said this was the only game I needed. This is the only game I needed. But yeah, I've made other videos. Like, I think I made one where I did kind of a tutorial on how to farm a specific kind of coin in Mortal Kombat Deception. So, like, if you're slow on Onyx coins, how to farm just Onyx coins. And just a cool little trick that I came up with. But I came up with it, like, last year after playing the game for ages. But I posted it because, I don't know, there may be somebody out there who wanted that information. I couldn't find anyone else talking about it. Farming coins on this game is way easier. There's kind of a exploit you could do with betting. So when you play two-player versus, you can bet coins. And there's a pretty basic exploit that you can do that once you have, you know, just a few hundred coins for each person, you can effectively kind of bet coins in a way that tricks the computer into not taking the coin total off of the other guy. And so it's effectively infinite coins for anybody who's willing to grind for it. What? I remember seeing this back in last time I unlocked this when I was a kid. I forgot about it. I wonder if that's a real thing. If it is, probably won't surprise you. I want it. You can make that because that's just the Mortal Kombat 2 side art, and there's companies that reproduce that side art. But then why would you make it? That's weird. You know what I want? I want a Mortal Kombat 2 desk. This one had to hurt. See, it's ow. Fallen Giants Arena sketch. My mother tells me stories about how she'd hear screams coming from my room all night, and it's it's this game. You hear the background noises for the Crypt. You just hear people screaming in pain. I had no idea. I had no idea it would take this long. I was figuring about an hour. I was way off. Probably take an hour if it wasn't for the loading. The loading takes forever. Or rather, the saving? I'm not sure what it's doing there. It's probably saving. I sword. Sword. For those of you who are still watching this video, you guys are awesome. I have mad respect for the fact you're just hanging out doing this with me. Also, she's very good looking. Yeah, Serena's a character that they introduced in Mortal Kombat. That's who was just on. That's obviously Goro, but the prior one was Serena, and she was introduced in Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero, and then she was first playable on the Game Boy Advance version of this game, or rather Tournament Edition, I think it was. I'm not sure. I can't remember which one it was that she was in. I think it was Tournament Edition. And then obviously she was playable in Mortal Kombat Armageddon because everybody was playable in Mortal Kombat Armageddon. But she is awfully cool, just character-wise, character concept-wise, design-wise. I'd like to see more Serena in the Mortal Kombat world. Serena. We're in it, buddy. I'm just gonna say, anybody ever says someone who has ADD can't focus, here I am, guys. Here I am. 2 hours into this. I'm feeling great. Oh, look at that. Moloch likes to make ships in a bottle. How cute is that? PR nightmare. You're like, I'm worried vaguely about saying some stupid shit that's going to embarrass me. But I know there's like 2 people, maybe in the entire history of this video, that will make it to this point. So, for all of those people who have made it to this point, write in the comment section. Let me know. Like, hey, I'm glad you didn't say something embarrassing. Because I made it to that point in which you were worried about that. I don't know. Pee-pee! It's slang for urination. Is that a frisbee? I think that's a frisbee. I used to be a avid and ravenous Mortal Kombat collector. However, Mortal Kombat 9, thank God, kind of rejuvenated Mortal Kombat and made it extremely popular again. And as a result, the collectibles got way out of hand. And so, I'm far more casual than I used to be. Blaze is another character who's the coolest. I'll go back to the collecting thing here. Yeah, it used to be kind of fun to collect for Mortal Kombat because there wasn't a lot, and so it was kind of a rare thing. But nowadays, I don't know. I could go to any hobby store or nerd store, and I'll see Mortal Kombat stuff. So I can't pick up every Mortal Kombat thing I see. I'll go broke. But going back to Blaze, Blaze is a hidden character in this game, right? And without much of a story behind him, kind of this thing that he was made for a certain concept, made for like a certain goal. And then in Deception, you come across Blaze, and he's like lost his memory, and he's like, I can't remember what I was supposed to be doing. And then Shujinko helps him remember, and then he becomes the boss of Mortal Kombat Armageddon, the third game from this one. So he starts off as a hidden character, and then a cameo, and then becomes a full-blown problem in the later game. It's funny, because Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance and Deception are two of my absolute favorite Mortal Kombats ever, and Armageddon's really one of my least favorites. It always felt like a watered-down version of Deception. Whereas, I guess the leap from Deadly Alliance to Deception was so strong. They basically took everything that was good about this game and improved it, and did a lot of quality of life things like the breaker system that kind of helped balance things and make things a little bit less frustrating. Whereas, I don't know, Armageddon was a part of this rough ending time period for Midway, in which Midway was putting a lot of pressure on their developers. Mortal Kombat was basically their only franchise that was making any money. And it was a rushed game, and it sucks. It sucks when the big bosses put that kind of pressure on the developers. I'd much prefer the game just to take a couple years longer to come out and then do it correctly, as opposed to rushing the game out the door and having issues or it not being what the developers really wanted. You know, of course, the game's never done. You know, if you left an artist to complete their projects completely, they would never be done, because artists are inherently perfectionist, and so they'll keep on tweaking it forever. They'll never say it's good. But having said that, there's definitely some things like Quan Chi's fatality in this game, for example. The fact this game only has one fatality, I think they intended it to have more, but they could only have time to put one fatality in the game. That kind of stuff. It's like, oh well, you know, it would have been nice if they just let them, I guess, finish. Is that Blitz? Maybe that's an NFL Blitz that he's playing. It's a midway game. PB, personal best. Or peanut butter. Oh yeah. See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's like Pavlovian that I'm excited about getting coins. I have all the coins I need, but I'm still like, yeah, coins. We got them. temple concept. Oh yeah. QA. Quality assurance. Question and answer. I actually worked for quality assurance. That's cool. They put the QA team under that one. I'm glad they did that. That's cool. I actually worked as QA for a video game developer here where I live, and I was decent at it. I end up quitting the job or resigning or however you want to say it, just strictly because the way the company was organized, they were basically wanting the QA people to almost serve as the programmers themselves. And I lacked this knowledge to do that. And they were like, well, you can always just teach yourself. And so I tried, and I wasn't that good at it. And so as opposed to not carrying my weight, I just bowed out. I was like, listen, this is not the way that I think. I'm great at the game testing. I'm great at breaking games. But as far as when I break the game fixing it, I'm not the best. But it was cool. I've worked in the video game industry in a few different capacities. Obviously, I worked at GameWorks Studio for many, many years. I also worked for Tilt Indianapolis, which is what became of GameWorks Studio. Basically, GameWorks closed down and Tilt took over. Same arcade, different name. Well, not same arcade, but same location, different name. I also, my wife, she owns a arcade repair company, and I help her with those projects a lot. And then, just like any self-respecting nerd, I did my time at GameStop, worked at GameStop for a very short period of time. Then a new manager came in and arbitrarily fired everyone, literally. I don't even think the manager knew my name, is how short of a time I was there. The new manager came in. He just fired everyone and put his friends in, which is kind of a bummer, but whatever. And then I also worked in video game development for a very, very, very short time. Well, a year. I was QA for that company for a year. They also didn't much listen to my opinions on some what I thought were very important details. Like, they had one artist who was plagiarizing other people's work, and I brought it up to the lead, and I don't think the lead cared very much, because they were developing like cell phone games, and so I think there was kind of a thought that like, it's a cell phone game, who cares? But like, his character designs, like, he straight up stole character designs from Tekken and games like that. I'm like, hey, here's a picture of what this guy drew, and here's a picture of a character from a game that has all the legal backing that it would need to sue the hell out of you. How about we don't continue down that road? There's Carrie Hoskins, one of my earliest crushes. She's an artist now. It's crazy. Well, not crazy that she's an artist, but yeah, she was a model, and now she's an artist. She's still gorgeous. She's got a whole bunch of kids. I mean, they're damn near adults now, but I'm sure that she still views them as her kids. QO. Ooh, fan art. That's cool. Like, how cool is that? That's so cool. I love that they put fan art in this. who has time to watch this video? You do. You have time to watch this video. Look at you, you lucky SOB. When this is all said and done, I'm getting breakfast though. So how close was your estimate? Now that we're at 2 hours and 20 plus minutes, I know my estimate was off. I was assuming this would take like an hour. QT for QuickTime event. I'm so happy they put the QA team under the QA. Mad respect for caring. Oh, I'm so happy they did not go with that logo. It's so interesting. So the development of anything artistically is you kind of do like a brainstorming thing where you just legit just throw out everything. Reptiles past. This is where they kind of reveal Reptile as a part of a whole race, the Xanturin, I want to say they're called. But yeah, an artist, any artistic concept goes through, I mean, possibly hundreds of iterations before it is complete. And if you ever look at any of the early designs of almost anything, they look like trash. Oh, good. Yeah, his alternate outfit is basically his normal outfit without a hat. It's, okay. I understand why people don't like Suhao. He's, I get it now. Look at that. The Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance E3 Expo 2002. That looks so cool. Yeah, I'm definitely not like a Tabbox 99 or, Total Mortal Kombat devotee level, but I'm probably up there. But I surely have I've never gone to an E3 launch of Mortal Kombat, and that bums me out. Just lots of times whenever those sort of things come up, not E3. E3 is just straight up kind of out of my reach most of the time. But lots of times I talk myself out of it. Like the Mortal Kombat Road Tour, I talk myself out of it. I was like, well, it is a 2-hour drive, and I think with Mortal Kombat 9, like the demo was coming out like 3 days after the Road Tour was going to be 2 hours away from me, and so it was like, well, do I take a 2-hour drive to play the game 2 or 3 days early? I think was the situation. I think I should have gone. I definitely think if they ever do that again, I think I will take part. MK3 and MK4 arcade video game soundtrack. Huh. Neato. Yeah, surprisingly, they have never released the Mortal Kombat movie soundtrack on vinyl. So they just recently released the Mortal Kombat 1 and Mortal Kombat 2 soundtrack on vinyl, and I have both of those. Well, both of those. It's one package, but I have that. But yeah, the full soundtrack was never released. I think they did a release of just the song Mortal Kombat. But I always thought that would be a nice one to have. And they'll never do a Mortal Kombat Deception soundtrack on vinyl, but I would buy it. Because for sure, I like Mortal Kombat Deception's music best. Deadly Alliance is probably my favorite art. Test your might. That's like an embarrassing Mortal Kombat fan fact about me, is I suck at test your might. I know what it is. All my friends can do this crazy vibrating thing with their hand. Well, I guess all my friends growing up. I don't really hang out with anybody who still plays Mortal Kombat. My wife will play it every once in a blue moon, but nobody else really plays it. But yeah, they all can do this crazy vibrating thing with their hand, and I can't. So, for example, in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, I can fairly reliably do all of the tests, succeed in all the test mites except for the last one, the big giant piece of diamond. I can't break it. But Mortal Kombat 1, I suck at that one, man. I feel like half the time I can't fucking do it. Yeah, back when I was competing for points. So there was a small time period. So I did speed running for Mortal Kombat back in the day, and but there was a small time period where I was shooting for points for Mortal Kombat 1, and the way that I would get the that's cool. I like that. The way that I would get the test your might every single time was I had a turbo controller. And at the time, turbo controllers were not against the rules. I don't know if anyone even tracks points anymore. Twin Galaxies probably still does, but Twin Galaxies is not what Twin Galaxies used to be, so I don't care about them anymore. Things are still looking pretty good. Every now and then I'm just checking over into the camera, making sure that nothing's gone incredibly out of focus. Because I'm super professional, I make these videos by just pointing my camera at the TV. You know, I used to have a really cheap capture card, but it didn't really do that much better as far as video quality. I'm sure I could get a better capture card. But the thing is, I definitely do not have a setup to stream or a setup to capture videos. I have a lot of video game systems all hooked up so that all I have to do is turn them on. And there's just, as far as I can tell, I don't know if there's a sophisticated way to make it so that I can just hook up and start streaming, but either way, it's not worth the hassle because I don't really stream. This is a video that probably should have been streamed as opposed to uploaded to YouTube because it's going to take like 3 days to upload. especially with the super fast internet we're having right now. So, for a historical, I guess, time capsule, during the COVID-19 problem, a lot of people's internets have slowed down, which is lame. Because if any time we need a nice fast internet, it's now. Ra. Isn't that a Egyptian god? Ra. Well, he's an ex-god now. Yeah. It's interesting. There's a couple characters that I've just never been able to get into, but for some reason I want to. Like, I've always really liked the idea of Jax, and I've straight up got a kid crush on Sonya Blade. But neither of those characters, literally, I don't think there's a version of the game where I have enjoyed playing those two characters. But now I know what I'm getting into for my completionist run of this game, because on my completionist file, so this file I specifically made just for the sake of doing completely unlocking the crypt, but my completionist file already has all the characters unlocked and cooking with Scorpion unlocked. Which is why I could not use my completionist file for this video, because it would just happen to already have those things unlocked for ages ago. But I'm not going to use this file for my completionist file because I've already got half the conquest mode done on the other file. So, oh, I kind of missed that one. Looked funny. So anyways, I'm basically going to have to do this a second time, but I will not be doing it on video. I'll probably have the tail end of it on video, maybe like the last row. I love that outfit. I thought she was so cool. It's interesting that the video games that I played really influenced my taste in women. So I've always really liked strong women with really strong personalities. My wife, she's a real badass, and it's funny that like between Mortal Kombat's women, and I also big fan of Dragon Ball Z, and my favorite woman in that that show was Bulma, who is incredibly smart and very, very strong-willed. And on top of that, the women in my family are that way. My mom, my sister, my aunts, they're all very strong women. Boy, I do not like how that looks. But yeah, to a certain extent, my taste in girls comes from the video games of my time, or the media of my time. Because like Lara Croft was really big, and she was a badass. Samus is a badass. Crunchy. So what? Oh, that's cool. Those are so cool. So I had one of those for Mortal Kombat 9, and I thought it was awesome. And I still have a piece of it. It actually sits over my TV in one of my rooms, but it kind of fell apart over time. That's rude. Just so you know, that's very rude. Anyways, but yeah, if you ever think about getting a standee, make sure you have room for it though, because they're a lot bigger than you think they are, and they serve no functional purpose. Peptic Thunder. They serve no real functional purpose. They're just art, and they're a really large art. So like, straight up, think about that. I could always remake the base of the standee that I had out of wood though, because the standee that I had was effectively like a box that held a box. It was like a cardboard shelf that held the Mortal Kombat 9 games for people to buy, and it had a really sick 3D Scorpion and Sub-Zero fighting each other with the Mortal Kombat logo in the background. And I still have that part of it. And the rest of it was just a big black, like, shelving unit. So I could probably get, like, a cheap black shelf from Walmart and remake that. That could be a fun project. But then again, I don't know where I put it. Right now, we call it the arcade because we got three arcades, three arcade machines. Right now, Mortal Kombat 3, Mortal Kombat 4. Oh no, 4 arcade machines. Mortal Kombat 3, Mortal Kombat 4, Global Arcade, which is a officially licensed multi-cade, and then Tron. And then we have a massive CRT. And so there's not a lot of space in that room. Oh, that's interesting. You know, they say it's a Mortal Kombat 4 arcade marquee, but it's not. That is not what it looks like. That is more like a concept art of it. Unless they did that one in some different region. But I'm in America, the home of Mortal Kombat. There it is, Cyrix's arm. There it is, look at that. You can press buttons on that and then blow up. It's so funny how nervous I am about the gold pieces. And it's just because everything else I have like over 100,000 on. But my gold pieces, oh, I'm only down to 13,000. But I'm pretty sure we're good to go. Because unless there are 13 chests that are 1,000 each of gold, plus I just got 180 gold. Which, by the way, woohoo! Got that money. Get that money, son. You ever think about how much money you've earned in a video game versus how you've not earned that much in normal life? If only earning money in real life was as interesting, I guess, or It's really the complication, I think it is. I think earning money normally is not very complicated, but it's also not very lucrative. To earn a lot of money requires, I think, a pretty strong grasp of some very complicated issues, like people who are good at the stock market and things like that. I'm just talking. That's what I'm doing. Test your might. Interesting thing that Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance does in fact have a toasty. Toasty. It's extremely rare. I've only heard it once, but it happens in the very, very, very background of Test Your Might. I don't know what triggers it. I don't know when it happens. I heard it late one night. I confirmed this online that it does exist in the game, but it is super rare because I've been playing this game, like I said, since I was 15 years old, half of my life, and boy, that I've only, like I said, I've only heard it once, but it's in there. Toasty is a part of Mortal Kombat 2, 3, 4. Deadly Alliance is also in Deception during the chess combat. I'm not sure where it is in Armageddon, if it exists, but it's definitely in MK9. I don't know if it's in MK versus DC Universe either. But I've even seen some people do a retrospective of Toasty and not mention that it's in this game because it's so rare. I think most people don't know about it. So now that we are 2 hours and 40 minutes into the video, if you're still watching, have you ever heard the toasty in this game? Did you know there was a toasty in this game? Let me know that you're taking part in this video. You crazy bastard, that you're still here watching this. Mad respect. Thanks for hanging out. Boy, that early MK Deadly Alliance looks like shitty action figures. TM. Meaning trademark. This should just be the Mortal Kombat logo. It's Su Hao again. You see how he's hiding the hand like that? That's because the artist didn't want to draw that hand. He was like, drawing hands is hard. Don't feel like drawing another. The acid bath concept sketch, particularly this concept sketch, was an artistic inspiration of mine. I thought it was just so cool, that sketch. Red Dragon. Ooh, 4,000 coins. Look at it. Damn, that's a good drawing. Kill me with all these golds. I'm so nervous. What if I don't have enough gold? What if I somehow did not get enough gold? There's the golds in the background there. Tony Gotski. He was an interesting guy to meet. He was a lot less animated and less talkative. Kind of bummed me out. So all I had for the guys to sign was a Mortal Kombat 1 box, and I asked him if he'd sign it, even though he didn't do work on that game. I wish I would have had a Mortal Kombat 3 box for him to sign, but at the time I just brought my Mortal Kombat 1 box. The Super Nintendo version. Which is another thing. A lot of people shit on the Super Nintendo version of Mortal Kombat 1 because it doesn't have the blood, but I think it plays good, and it's graphically and audio wise vastly superior to the Genesis version. I actually don't much like the Genesis at all. I mean, I don't hate the Genesis. There's games I like. Streets of Rage 2 is probably one of my favorite beat 'em ups, top 3 at least. But I definitely generally do not favor the games that are on Sega Genesis, and I really don't like the sound chip on the Sega Genesis. Everything kind of sounds like a muffled fart. I think we can see the back now, so hopefully we should be getting close to the end. Maybe we'll finish up this row and then start one more video. Yeah, Frost, what's up? Frost is I was gonna say Frost is the coolest. Getting close to the end, guys. Yeah, that's one thing that I just love about Mortal Kombat 4. Makes me laugh, and people who don't like it, I don't get them, because it is a fun game. I think that's really what it is. In particular, when Mortal Kombat 9 came out, there was a real big push, even by the developers of the game, to take a bite of that esports pie. And I think they've done a good job of that. Hell yeah, that's one of the best alts ever. My God, it's amazing. Yeah, there was a big push to get the competitive game, the tournament field, the esports field as a part of Mortal Kombat. And I'm to an extent, okay, I need to stop everything I'm saying to talk about Cooking with Scorpion. I'll get back to the other thought here in a second. Cooking with Scorpion blew my fucking mind, because I cannot express the fact that YouTube wasn't a thing yet when this game came out. So that video, which is like vintage YouTube, wasn't a thing. And that was something my friend unlocked while I was asleep. And I remember waking up, he's like, dude, you have got to see this ridiculous video. And Cooking with Scorpion is just like a 20 second long video advertising a fake TV show called Cooking with Scorpion, in which you learn about chopping, cake decorating, and chopping. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. But yeah, so when the tournament thing became really popular, and I took part in that, and I had a lot of fun with it, so it was a good thing. But a lot of people came in very competitive and aggressive, and wanted to be the best in the world, and that kind of mentality. And I feel like the Mortal Kombat community lost a certain element of its playfulness that, I don't know, the Mortal Kombat people that I knew it wasn't just about the fighting game. It was about the characters and the story, and laughing. You would laugh at the game constantly. And Mortal Kombat 4 was one of those games that I think it's a little bit of like revisionist history that people like nowadays say Mortal Kombat 4 wasn't that good and that nobody played it, but that's just not really the case. People did play Mortal Kombat 4. It was really fun. At least where I was at, people played in the arcades. I still think there was a sense that Mortal Kombat 4 was not as good as Mortal Kombat 3 or Mortal Kombat 2, but it was still really enjoyable, and I think people had a lot of fun with it. And that's kind of the point of what I'm saying, is that Mortal Kombat doesn't have to be about being the best fighter in the room. Mortal Kombat can also... These trading cards are weird, BT dubs. Side note, because I've only ever seen these trading cards sold as the complete package of all of them. Like, it's not like a trading card thing. It's weird, but yeah, I don't know. I just think it's important to recognize the fact that when it comes to Mortal Kombat, it's not like so many other fighting games in which I think being a golden god at the game is the sole purpose. I think Mortal Kombat there's room in Mortal Kombat for the competitive people who want to be the best in the world, but there's also room for people to casually sit down and laugh at each other while you both suck at the game. And I think there's room for both those things. And I think that's why Mortal Kombat has always been successful. And for sure, 100%, the team who builds the game has never quite forgotten that, because they always have a robust amount of single-player content for people to take part in who aren't necessarily interested in the tournament scene. But I do like to see the more goofy aspects of the game. But for sure, this goofy aspects are still there, because if you look at Mortal Kombat X and Mortal Kombat 11, they have the living towers and the towers of time. And if you've ever logged onto those towers during a holiday, you'll laugh your ass off. That they have, like, you're being attacked by turkeys during Thanksgiving, and leprechauns are like pelting rainbows at you during an empty coffin, that's rude. During St. Patrick's Day, they're pelting coins at you. What time have we got? 7 o'clock? Yeah, we'll wrap up this line and then restart the video. I'll stretch my back for a half second. Exactly 1/2 second. No more! Feeling a little bit more confident about these golds, just because I can see the back of the wall now. I don't know if you can with the camera, but Edema live at E3. I don't know if Edema is good or bad, but I do like that song, Immortal. Yeah, I don't know if they wrote Immortal for Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, or if Deadly Alliance just appropriated it, but either way, I have that connection to it. It's really not the kind of music I usually listen to. MK hits the big screen. Yeah. Alright, guys, nearing into what I think is our 4th hour. I think I'm like losing track of time now. But either way, I'm going to take a quick pause from the video and come right back. This is just to make editing somewhat easy for me, so be right back. Alright, guys, let's keep this going. So it is 7:03 right now. This should be the last section. We got just these guys left, so let's get to getting. I have like a whole bunch of drinks stacked up now over here. Got my coffee, my Zevia, and some water. Oh boy, let me talk about these videos. So they make these little videos. They have these little videos, kind of quick explanation of some of the martial arts styles that they use in this game, for which they do a terrible job at representing each one of the martial arts styles accurately. But regardless of that, they it's what introduced me to the idea of multiple martial arts styles. Up to this point in my martial arts studies, I basically just studied one art and kind of was like, just kind of okay with knowing that one art, thinking that was really all I needed. And then when I got introduced to this idea that there was multiple martial arts styles, I immediately had the thought, well, what's the ultimate martial arts style? What's the best one? I don't want to study a shitty martial arts style. I want to study a good one. And that led me on a lifelong journey of studying various martial arts. My conclusion is that there is no one best martial arts style, that all of them have kind of things that they're stupid good at and some things that they're really, really bad at. And the best thing for you to do is kind of gather up a handful of them and then take the stuff that is most effective for you as the individual. But yeah, it's so funny how this game has had such an impact on my decisions in life. People talk about how these violent video games are ruining people's lives, but Mortal Kombat turned me into a self-defense expert, and I've helped people protect themselves for the past 10, 15 years of teaching. I've legit had people who were attacked on the street and were able to go home safe because of the things that I taught them. And I learned these things because I wanted to defend Earthrealm in a tournament called Mortal Kombat. That's good. He's not happy about being thrown. Judo is the most recent art that I studied. I love judo. Very, very fun. Getting into it now. Hungar and Jiu-Jitsu. Oof. Only 86 coins. What could this one be? Hapkido and Nanchuan. I had a friend who did Hapkido. It was an interesting art, a lot of joint locking involved in it. It's in high school he did it. Sparring wise though, they didn't spar enough, so he never really was the greatest fighter. I remember he was actually frustrated by that when he started sparring with all of us other fighters, he was kind of shocked that the stuff that he was doing wasn't working the way he was taught it would work. I always thought that the animal styles of Kung Fu were super duper cool. And unfortunately, whenever I've taken the time to kind of explore into that realm of martial arts, I find a lot of what I call Kung foolishness, which is where they are sacrificing efficiency of technique in order to adhere to the idea of fighting in a way that looks like a particular animal. For example, I learned an entire form of Mantis, and then when it came to learning the application of that form, I still love the form, it's cool, but there's almost nothing in it that's actually practical martial arts, which is frustrates me because I'm a big fan of that practicality. And believe it or not all martial arts styles are developed with the idea that they are trying to become the best fighters. Some of them are like concept pieces, like I would like to fight in a way that looks like a monkey. Basic fighting strikes. That's true. Good job. Yeah, the creators of Mortal Kombat were really big fans of the old kung fu movies and like Shaw Brothers and that kind of stuff. Um, and then Daniel Pesina and Carlos Pesina are actually very skilled wushu practitioners. It's Chinese martial arts. I don't know much about Carlos Pesina, but it looks like Daniel Pesina, mostly having watched a lot of him, he mostly focuses on the art side of martial arts. So he does a lot of the forms and weapons and that kind of stuff. And doesn't appear that he spends a lot of time. Well, that's crazy. It doesn't appear that he spends a lot of time on the fighting aspect of it, but it's something that shocked me because when I was coming up, I always thought like, well, the only reason why you do martial arts is to fight. But there's a lot of people who study martial arts, not with the goal of fighting, but rather as just kind of like a really glorified form of exercise, and they enjoy it for that purpose. And you know, I think a lot of those people can still fight to an extent, but their goal is not to become, you know, Bruce Lee, I guess. Whereas I'm more trying to become Bruce Lee. That is an interesting picture for Tai Chi. I'm sure that's a move in Tai Chi, but that's just not what I think about when I think about Tai Chi. Tai Chi is one of those arts that I always want to learn, but it is so bogged down by a lot of woo-woo BS that it's really hard to get into because, you know, the second you start thinking that you like it, they start talking about how to center your chakras and like focus on your chi meridian and a bunch of pseudoscience stuff that doesn't really hold up under scrutiny. So, you know, study Tai Chi if you like that sort of thing, but, you know, keep a scientific mind about you. WF, representing Wrestling Federation. Wing Chun and Snake. Those two martial arts are actually related. That Wing Chun is a combination of the Snake style of Kung Fu and the Crane style of Kung Fu. Tang Sudo, Korean karate, what they always say. I don't know if it's actually Korean karate, but that's how it always gets advertised. Ooh, we got ruby coins. I was worried because with 131,000 ruby coins. No, calm down, sir. Story mode concept. I loved reading. So, the conquest mode of this game is pretty bare bones, but of course, the later conquest hadn't existed yet, so it's kind of unfair to judge it for something that had not yet been made. The conquest mode in this game is effectively a series of tutorials, 10 tutorials for each character, But then in between each tutorial, you get these massive chunks of story. It's just written out, so you just read it, with your big kid eyes. But it's one of the things that really made me fall in love with Mortal Kombat, especially Deadly Alliance, was that expansion of the story. That Mortal Kombat, every fighting game has a story, but like, let's be real, Mortal Kombat's story is on a different level. It has a lot of depth to it, a lot of interweaving of characters and concepts and espionage. And as the game has gone forward, that story has only become deeper and more interesting. And it's hard for a lot of people to follow because it's just like real politics, that there's a lot going on. But I would say that it is in this very game, Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, that the story was expanded to that point. Up until that point, Mortal Kombat's story was primarily comprised of what was on the attract mode of the arcades, which wasn't a lot, basically a paragraph per character, and what was at the endings of the arcades, which was a paragraph per character, and then a couple comic books. Whereas this game has, just volumes of text detailing all sorts of really cool stuff going on during the time period. In the story, that is, during this time period of the story. I'm still hanging out. I don't know about you guys. If you're still here, I have so much respect for you. I'm having a blast, though. Always blows my mind that these really repetitive activities, don't wear on me. But then again, I'd punch Johnny Cage. I've also done 100% completion on Mortal Kombat 9, and anybody who knows what that's made of, that's a horrible experience. World record! Yeah, Mortal Kombat X and Mortal Kombat 11, I don't think if they're possible to 100%, they definitely aren't worth the effort. There's so much RNG involved. There's so much randomness involved in those games. Mortal Kombat 11, especially, I just don't think it's a game too complete. But this game you can. That's what we're going to do. It's going to be great. Oh, yeah. One of the coolest backgrounds ever. I already talked about it, though. That's the one where it flies. It flies around Outworld. Woo! Yeah, this is actually the first Mortal Kombat that doesn't have stage fatalities. That's another example of how they changed expectations in this game. That as opposed to having stage fatalities, the stages themselves are just interactable. Not all of them, but for example, like there is the big giant acid spitting Buddhas that you can back your opponent into. And then luckily they take that to an even further level in Mortal Kombat Deception, where the stage hazards can be deadly. So as opposed to having a traditional stage fatality that only happens at the end of the game, you can end the fight anytime by smashing them into stage hazard. Poor Deadly Alliance. Every single time I talk about it, I keep talking about Deception. WZ. So were your estimates correct as we near the end of this? For those of you who are still with me, we're on the last few rows here. I was way off. Like I said, I was thinking it was going to take like an hour when I first sat down to do this. That is not the case. Ooh, that is cool. That'd be a crazy collecting goal, is to just take this crypt and then every collectible that is featured in the crypt, get a hold of that collectible. Organic air. Oh, okay. Nice. Now you can see what I'm looking at. My eyes did not understand what the lines were asking me to see for a second. Holy cow, that's cool. Yeah, Mortal Kombat 3 is probably my least played Mortal Kombat, because I have the Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 arcade machine. And so, like, if I want to play Mortal Kombat 3, why would I play the vanilla version without Scorpion or, the additional backgrounds? And why would I play it on a not arcade machine? But I do play Mortal Kombat 3 once a year, because I kind of have a little ritual that at the end of the year I actually play through every Mortal Kombat once. I don't play through like the story mode. I just kind of run through a tower once on each one. Just a fun little project at the end of each year. A little ritual to celebrate. Raiden, sound like a god. Nearing the end. I keep on saying that. I'm just like, oh my gosh. That art is actually on the Mortal Kombat novel by Jeff Roven. I was never a part of the Combat Club, which I don't think the Combat Club ever did anything. I remember them advertising the Combat Club in the Mortal Kombat animated movie. Journey Begins, that's what it was called. Mortal Kombat Journey Begins, which was just a god-awful promo for Mortal Kombat the movie. Like, real bad. But when I was a kid, I didn't know better. I thought it was awesome. Because it was Mortal Kombat. So I wonder if... Oh, I don't even know what I'm wondering. I was going to say, I wonder if people just like randomly went through this. And that's exactly what happened. Because what you would do is that you'd come into the crypt with the coins you had, and you just click on what you could afford. And I'm sure eventually you just get frustrated and look up what you wanted. Which is mostly what I do nowadays. Like, if I start a new file on Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance or Deception, I just look up the characters and Cooking with Scorpion. That's what I always do. I always make sure I unlock Cooking with Scorpion because I think it makes me laugh. the Mortal Kombat 3 behind the scenes movie. That documentary is on Midway Arcade Treasures 2. Obviously, it's on YouTube now as well. But I first saw it on the on the game Midway Arcade Treasures 2. It's just a collection of arcade games made by Midway. It's really good. Highly recommend it. I think the games that are on Midway Arcade Treasures 1, I think those games are more classic. But I think Midway Arcade Treasures 2 has higher quality games. Because like they have Smash TVs on the first collection, but they have Total Carnage on the second collection, and Total Carnage, highly underrated. Because Smash TV always like stands out as, a more popular title because it came before it. But Total Carnage is the better game. Oh, the drama, it's killing me with these gold coins. I'll be so salty if we get to the end and I don't have enough gold coins. I think we should be good. Let's just keep on going, man. Just keep on going. The temptation just to go through and knock out only gold coins just to settle that in my head is strong. But I don't know. The drama is worth it. We're gonna keep on going through it like this. Go Ketchup and Mustard, the original name of Cyrex and Sector. I mean, it was never their original name. Saying original name is almost silly to say. It was their code name before they had names in Mortal Kombat 3. Huh. That's cool. Yeah, there was a road tour. There was a play that went around, or a stage spectacle that went around called the Mortal Kombat Live Tour, and just the vaguest memory, I remember them having weird things like those temporary tattoos. I got a collection of these little miniature action figures that I've never seen ever again, and it's a shame that I don't have them anymore, because I'm sure I know that they're crazy rare. That's more of a swampland. That's the crazy thing about swampland. There's no swampland in this game. And just for the sake of satisfaction, I definitely think when we get to the Z, we'll start from the top of ZA, and work down to ZZ. Even though the zigzagging pattern would have it work the other way. Almost at the end, guys. Get hype. I said guys plural. Let's be real. Guy, one person who made it to the end. You know, I'd love to be a YouTuber who is promising more amazing content like this. But I'm not. My YouTube channel is exactly what it is. It is whatever the hell I feel like putting on there, man. One of my friends says that I'm an old school YouTuber, which is true. I mean, I think my first YouTube video was posted like 2007. That's a nice outfit for Kenshi. I can dig that for sure. I'm feeling more confident about these gold. I'm kind of paying attention to that 0 behind where we're at and kind of counting. I've only seen 1 gold up to this point. Plus, we just got 26 gold, which, like, what's up? So hopefully we don't see anything that's like 4,000 gold and we'll be good. Wow, that's a really sassy Sonya. Whoever came up with this outfit doesn't know who Sonya is. I don't think Sonya would ever do that little move. But then again, kids, as we learned from Mortal Kombat 9, apparently Sonya Blade can dress like a straight-up stripper. See, that's Mocap, and Mocap was based off of Carlos Pesina. Sonya, in Mortal Kombat 9, Sonya dresses like a straight stripper, and there's a great line where she's like, says that she's military or she's special forces, and Johnny Cage is like really serious, like, whoa, so you mean that's not just a costume? It's like, yes, I'm sure there's literally any military service ever that dresses their women with their boobs hanging out. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't mind looking at it. But I just wish it was on a different character, because I think Sonya, I don't know, Sonya's always been about, like, just the midriff, you know? Top 10 worst Mortal Kombat subtitles. Oh, I'd love to click on that and read that. Get it? I'm amazed at how long this actually ended up taking. We get a big old breakfast after this. Breakfast time. Right now it's like 7:30, 7:32. I'm hungry. More gold. They're just killing me. Making me kind of close. Not seeing any more gold in the background though, so I think we're golden. Hey, look, it's Lee May. Boy, the women modeling in this game is not the best. Okay, there's the 300 gold back there. Alright, so we should be good on the gold. We clearly have enough of everything else. It's a 200 gold and then a 250 semi gold. I think that's what this is. I don't know, that's standard definition. Kenshi. You know, it's interesting. So originally Kenshi's name was, or at least one of the earliest names for him was Blind Kenshi. And you can, all the way up to Mortal Kombat 9, you can still hear developers refer to him as Blind Kenshi, even though he was never officially, there's never been, I guess, a release of the game in which he was called Blind Kenshi. But, and it actually does make sense as a word, though, because spider, that's cool. I wonder if that, I wonder if that turned into the, what is it, the hive, Khitan or whatever hive in Mortal Kombat 11. Khitan hive. But yeah, it's funny just because, like, you know, like when you meet someone, if they introduce themselves as Michael and then they start going by the name of Mike, you'll still call them Michael forever. You can see that with Kenshi, that there's some developers that still refer to Kenshi as Blind Kenshi all these years later, because that's how they got introduced to him. Oh yeah. Yeah, a big innovation of this was the destructible environments. It's interesting because, like, Mortal Kombat 3 would let you uppercut people through stages. Mortal Kombat 4 had interactable environments where you can throw rocks at each other. This clearly they did not intend to make this into a character, BT Dubs. It's clearly a joke. But yeah, it's interesting that Mortal Kombat's always been trying to find a way to make the stage a part of the fight, as opposed to, you know, just a place where people fight. Because even in Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, they had the stage fatalities. So yeah, so I guess even since day one, the environment you fought in played a role in the way the game was played. Very cool. Yeah, I actually used to have the world record on this game. I held it for like a while. I want to say like 8 years or something. But probably not 8 years. That's probably wrong. But anyways, I held it for a good while. Several years though. And it's funny because I got the world record kind of on accident. I was casually playing the game. And then as I got to the final boss, I looked at my time, and because the game has an in-game timer, and I saw that I was really close to the world record. Actually, I was going to beat the world record. That unless like I totally failed on the boss, I'd get the world record. So I played through the game, and then the next morning I woke up and I recorded it according to the rules back then, and submitted it. And I got a Guinness World Record for it, and I have the certificate on my wall. I also have the record for Mortal Kombat 4, or had the record for Mortal Kombat 4. It was beat about the same time that this one was beat. Basically, I think it was Mortal Kombat 9 came out, and Mortal Kombat had a rise in popularity. And so people kind of went back and started exploring that idea. But yeah, so this game is... I've dug deep into it, man. That's another one of those outfits that is just like, oh, they'd probably get in trouble if they made it today, because he's like super gangster in this one with the gold chains and shit. I don't think they'd have the approval. Just rude. So many coins. CP. I actually have that print ad signed by Richard DeVizio, the guy who plays Kano in there. he was so cool. Richard DeVizio is probably the most fun dude to me. He's very talkative. He's very proud of the work that he's done. He's very appreciative of the fans. That's sick. That outfit was awesome. Really cool take on Sub-Zero. Oh, good. Gold coins. I was getting concerned about them. Very genuinely. Now I can see that my concerns were not warranted. What is this? NK Home Graphic? Huh. I don't know what that is. I'd have to read about it. There they are. The animators. I think that's cool. That not only there's credits, but there's basically pictures of all the people who worked on the game hidden within the game. Mad respect to that. Believe it or not, there was a time period back in Atari in which the developers really didn't get any credit for what they've done. Woohoo! Guys! Poor guy! It's almost done. Why do this? Because I can. I think they one time asked somebody like why they climbed Mount Everest, and he said, because it was there. That's how I feel about this. I feel like this is a challenge that just begged to be done. What would it be like to open up the entire crypt in one sitting? The fans speak. Damn right we do. Here it is, guys. The very, very last crypt to be open. Or coffin be open. ZZ. Let's see what we got. Yay, we got coins! Woohoo! And that is it, guys. That is the entire Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance crypt unlocked in one sitting. It is 7:42. What are we on? The 39th minute of our third hour? Is that right? Fourth hour? I'm not really sure. But there it is. We started off with a completely empty crypt. Or completely full crypt. Now it is completely empty. 100% completion. Not only this is being done on the original hardware GameCube variation of the game, and I didn't do any kind of code manipulation or game sharking to get these coins. I did use a coin exploit to farm coins, but everything that I did was something that anybody could do because I did it. Don't need anything special. So this is real deal, 100%, completely unlocked. And believe it or not, I'm going to be doing this again, just not on camera, because I got to do it on my 100% file. There it is, guys. The crypt 100%. This is awesome. So if you made it to the end of this video, okay, I want you to write in the comment section below that you have a lot of free time. Because you do. And that's cool, because so do I. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoy this kind of absurd content, feel free to like and subscribe. But I post very weird and arbitrary content, so be prepared for that. So until next time, guys, I'm Michael V, and this has been some crazy Mortal Kombat shit. All right, so just wrapping this up, I wanted to go over what we actually spent. So this is not accounting for the gold, or this is after the gold that was added, or the coins that were added. So throughout the crypt, as you saw, several of the, I guess, coffins give you coins. So I basically just took my total that I started with and my total that I ended with, and I subtracted them from each other to figure out effectively how much I spent. But of course, that's not factoring in those additional gold, or the additional, I keep saying gold, additional coffins that gave you coins. So for whatever that's worth. So if you were to want to complete the crypt on a kind of minimalist base thing, for blue we spent 42,259 coins. For gray coins we spent 29,063. For green coins we spent 43,228 coins. For red coins we did 38,680. For gold coins we did 42,158, and for white coins we did 28,704. So if you were to want to play it uber safe, just get 50,000 of every coin, and once you have 50,000 of every coin, 100% you'll be able to unlock everything in the crypt for Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. So amped that we did this. It is now 8 o'clock in the morning. I started somewhere around 5. I'm gonna get some breakfast. I'm hungry. Peace, guys.